Welcome back to my darkroom. Today we're going to look at what you need to get started making contact prints. If you've not joined my Discord server yet, now would be a good time to do that. We have been having a pretty good discussion on what it takes to get started in contact printing when you have a small budget. So today we're going to look at what sort of materials you need to get together in order to contact print, and we're going to range from higher budget down to lower budget. Now if you look at the work of perhaps the greatest American photographer we've had, Edward Weston, you would see that his equipment is pretty meager. It's pretty much just a light bulb and a contact printing frame. And that's it. Some dodging and burning tools that he made. He didn't even have a timer. He used just a loud ticking clock. So we're going to look at a few different options on light source, on the means to hold your paper and negative in tight contact, and the timing equipment. So let's go ahead, go over to the enlarger station and see what we need. So this represents our most expensive option, and that would just be to use your enlarger. So we've already got a light source in here, we have a lens, you just need to project a little bit bigger than your paper. You kind of want to sharpen the focus a little bit so that you have even coverage from corner to corner, and then that's really it for your light source. You can control the intensity with the enlarging lens, you can control your time with the timer, and you can control the contrast with either a color head like this or with standard filters like these. And that's really it. So this gives you all the same control as a regular print. You're just not putting the negative in the enlarger, you're putting it in contact with the paper. And you can make prints really any size you want. During my grad school, the entire time I was there, only did contact prints, mostly 8x10 negatives, but quite a few 5x7s, 4x5s, even a 2x3 cut sheet film negative. So I just had a camera with different sized reducing backs, and I just used that for the whole thing. And I didn't use an enlarger actually. We're going to get to what I used then. But I did use this little contact proofer or contact printing frame. It's not a very good one. It's from Premiere. I bought it from B&H, I think. Maybe my local store when they used to carry stuff, but I'm pretty sure it was B&H. It is metal. The back is not hinged. Some of the really good ones are the old Kodak and Century. They're wood and they're just fantastic. If you can find them for a good deal, I would recommend you get one. This one is not very good. There's no glass in it right now because it broke. It worked. I mean, I can say that for it, but it wasn't fantastic. But these springs just hold the film and paper in tight contact against the glass that should be in here, and that's it. You just flip it over, you turn your light on. You can dodge and burn with your card just like you would a print. And that's really all there is to that. But this represents really the most expensive option because you have to have an enlarger and a timer and all that sort of stuff. You can get different sized contact frames, by the way. This one's 8x10. Somewhere in all the junk that I have, I've got an 11x14. I have a little Kodak vintage wooden one, 4x5, which I do intend to fix because all the joints need to be re-glued. I might do that in another video. But it works the same way. It's just got the little metal springs, and then you take this out, put the paper and negative down in there, and then put it all back and clamp it down. Now this has a hinged back, so if you're doing a printing out process, you can peel the paper back and look at it, but for regular printing like this, you wouldn't do that. You would just hit it, put it down, and this would be great for a 4x5 negative. So different sizes for different needs. I've seen all the way up to 20x24, and you can probably get even bigger or have something bigger made. Okay, let's look at option number 2. Option number 2 is just a light. So this is a clamp light from the hardware store. You can take this bracket off and hang everything up if need be, but with the clamp I can just clamp it on something like that right there, and from there we can just plug it into a timer and make our print. So I can expose it with the timer controlling the time. I can control the intensity either by lowering or raising everything, or by changing the wattage of the bulb. So I could take this, which I think is a 120 watt bulb, take that out, put in a 60 watt, 40 watt, 25 watt, whatever it takes for your paper. So older papers, when I mentioned grad school earlier, I was using Kodak Azo, which is a very slow chloride emulsion paper, a lot like was it Adox Lupex and Lodema paper. So these needed a very, very intense light. So I used a 300 watt flood bulb. Very, very bright in the darkroom. Here, you can just use a regular bulb. There's no reason for that. If you're using just FOMA or Ilford paper, anything like that, just a regular bulb, I would probably start with something like a 40 watt, maybe about 3 feet above the paper, and then go from there. You can always change it as needed. Now, the paper I was using was graded, which means if I wanted to get harder contrast, I used another box of paper that was a number 3 contrast. If you're using modern multigrade paper, this is going to be a little difficult to control your contrast. So the option would be to use the reflector. Let me grab that. Okay, so with the reflector in place, we'll see if this holds. May not. Alright, we'll pretend that's actually attached the way it's supposed to be. With the reflector in there, then you can still use the regular filters. Just take probably the 6-inch size, and you can just tape it underneath the reflector, and you'll have multi-contrast control. So this would definitely get you on the cheap. I want to say this was, what, $3, $4 at the hardware store? And who knows, you may already have one. So this would be your cheapest light option. Now, the timer, however, is still something that might be difficult. Yes, this is a repeatable timer. You can get these inexpensively. I want to say I paid maybe $10 at a military surplus store for this. But that may not always be within your budget. You may not be able to find something in that price range. So there are still options. So I mentioned earlier, Edward Weston used a very loud ticking clock. You can do something similar. So this is a Kodak timer. You can pick these up relatively inexpensively. It does not have any plugs for a light. So you are still going to have to turn this on and off manually. But this will allow you to time everything. So you wind it up, and you count your time. If that's not an option, reach way back here. I have a metronome. I don't think I have any batteries in this one. Oh, I do. So that's 100 beats per minute. I would change it to 60, which means it's one knock per second. You can even change it to 120 and just count every other, like 1 and 2 and 3, and count your time. Otherwise, this works really, really well. Whoa. Just don't turn it onto the sound note there when you're trying to turn it off. So that would work for counting as well, and I've done that quite a bit. But timers are, of course, easy, but something loud and ticking works great. Okay, so if you're definitely on that budget and now you have to hold the paper down, we still have a couple other options. So I showed you the contact printing frame. The other thing you can use is just a proofing frame. So these are made for contact sheets, but you can still use it for making contact prints. So if you get one of these, I would recommend trying to find one that is designed to replace the glass. So if it's all scratched up, you can put new glass in there. But otherwise, it works really much the same. You put the paper down, you put the film on it, and then you close this down and you print. The advantage of the other, the frame, is that you put the negative in first, you put the paper on top, and then you press it all down with the back. So if your paper is very curled, pressing everything down kind of lines it all up and you're good to go. This isn't. It doesn't allow you to do that. You put the paper down, negative on top, and then you press it down, and sometimes the negative wants to move. And it can get really bad. Shout out to Forte Poly Warm Tone. All of you that have used that know that that stuff would come in so curled it would pop the lid off the box sometimes. So that can become a little bit of a pain, but it would still work. You can, however, still go even cheaper and just have a piece of glass. And this is just a piece of glass, 1/4 inch thick. I had the glass shop just sand the edges so it wasn't sharp. And I just have it taped to a piece of craft foam. And that's it. So you put that down, and for this, you would just lift it up, paper, negative, close it, and print. Now, if you're using something like this and you're using a bare bulb, you don't have a timer to turn the light on and off for you in a controlled manner. So for that, I would recommend having a big card. Now, this one's the same size as that. Let's actually move this out of the way. Let's use this as an example. So you put your paper and your negative in here. You put your large card on top, turn your light on, start your timer, take this off, make your print. Put that back on, turn that off, and now you're ready to process the paper. So you can make this work. It doesn't take a lot of stuff. And that's it. If you want to go high budget, use an enlarger. It's a great light source, already has everything you need, and you're done. Timer is usually included in some fashion. If you don't have the budget for that and you're just getting started and you want to keep things simple, just a plain simple light bulb will do it. All you need is just some way to get your film and paper in tight contact and a light, and you're done. Just make sure you have something to time it with. And there you go. You can make your prints and get started. Contact printing is easy, it's basic, and it has beautiful tones. Alright, get out there and start making prints. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching.